October 1st Planning Commission meeting to order. We're here at City Hall. I'm Chairperson Mayor Zach Bruink. We'll go around the table, and if everyone can introduce themselves, and as a reminder to speak up so we can catch you on TV and everyone can hear you as well.
Adam Tagan, Community Development Director.
Lee Tao, Commission Member.
Joe Terry, Secretary.
Sue Wesley, Commissioner.
Thad Kubiszak, Council Representative Commissioner.
Larry?
Larry Hayes, Wood Trust Bank.
Dan Hanson.
Mike?
Mike Zerflu Realty and Rentals.
Great, thank you. Move on to item number 1, which is the approval of the report from the September 10th Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Wesley. Is there a second? Second. Second by Tao. Any additions or corrections to the report? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 2, any maps or plats received? Looks like we got one in front of us here, Adam.
Yeah, we received a series of 3 CSMs today from the county. They're all extraterritorial jurisdiction, meaning they're outside the city limits, but they're within 1.5 miles of the city. The other 2 are fairly standard, and there wouldn't be any right-of-way issues with them, so I didn't bring those forward to the commission because it doesn't require your approval. But this one, I did receive comments back from the engineering department that County Road W is identified as a 100-foot right-of-way on our official map. It's currently shown as 66 feet on this map. So I did bring it to the commission. It would be my recommendation that it would be approved, subject to the commission noting to the county that our official map shows a 100-foot right-of-way and encouraging the dedication of that additional width.
And the house is bisected by the 75-foot. Oh, that's a building setback.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's a setback, but it's still gonna, that dedication would put it pretty close to the front door.
Do you have a parcel ID for this one so I can reference it in the minutes?
I don't have it with me, but I can get you that.
Do we have a name for this map that we want to?
Let's see, who was the owner on it?
Kingery, Ryan and Tammy Kingery.
Okay.
Is there an address for it aside from the legal description?
I can reference the file number, 2018090.
But I failed to write that down. I looked it up and it's in my office, but I don't have
There's no cross streets on there.
No.
it. Yeah.
Commissioners, any comments?
Well, I guess I don't even know where this is, so I can't vote on anything. Where is this? It's Highway W, but Highway W is longer than 2
Right.
parcels.
Yeah, it's obviously east of town, but other than that, again, I apologize. It came in this morning, so I didn't think to write down the address. Normally I would have had the address and the information on the agenda, but it was a last minute one.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that if you don't take action, it's not the end of the world. It would just delay my response back to the county. But we have, I believe, 30 days to respond.
And from a standpoint of extraterritorial zoning, what comments are we going to send back or potentially send back that would affect? I'm just curious to play it out.
Well, generally-
Whether or not react or not.
Generally, you're looking to see if it's in compliance with your subdivision code. There's 2 main things you're looking at. Number 1, minimum lot size and density. These lots are well over 2 acres. Obviously, city requirements for residential lots, it is basically 1/4 of an acre, give or take. So they far exceed any minimum requirements of the city codes. And again, the other thing we generally look at is what the future right-of-way looks like. And again, since it's County Road W, it's a 100-foot right-of-way on our official map. So that's why I'm bringing that to your attention. Other than that, what else would you be reviewing? I guess nothing really, but.
Adam, where is the city limit on W?
It's before 32nd Street, so
Yeah.
between, probably about halfway between. So it's just beyond Home Depot.
Yeah.
I think it's right after Emmanuel Lutheran's property.
Yeah, I think that's, what is that, 30?
The next
fourth.
Yeah, the next 280s, I think, maybe.
Yeah, so basically east side of Home Depot would be the best way to reference it.
Adam, so that would be, if there were to be action, it would be a recommendation to require the map meet the city's minimum standards or just a comment that it,
Well, that would be our recommendation, but the county is the approving entity in this
Right.
instance.
So if we delay this, and we have 30 days,
we'd have to meet again?
exactly.
But ultimately, it doesn't hold up the county's ability. If they don't get any comments back from us, they can
They
approve
can
it as they
move
see fit.
forward anyhow.
Yep.
Because our approval isn't binding, sending the same
Yeah.
comments that we'd send today as 30 days from now, seems to me that the commission could and should act in this matter, I guess, in light of that. I think if there was some other questions or sort of binding approval, I think we should advance it forward, despite, with a comment back that getting these on the day of our meeting isn't appropriate, especially if it requires further review or consideration. Commissioners, any thoughts?
I don't see that we really have room not to take action on it.
I seem to share that feeling. I think if there was something related to the criteria that's within the purview of the commission, I don't think there's any reason we would want to postpone action on this item. So I'd entertain a motion if there is a desire. to
I
do
so move.
Motion by Wesley, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Tao. Any further comments?
Can I read the motion and see if I have it right?
Please.
Motion by Wesley, second by Tao, to approve 2018090 Kingerly extraterritorial zoning map with the condition that the map complies with the right-of-way requirements for County Road W of 100 feet, consistent with the city's right-of-way map.
That seems acceptable. Yeah. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye,
Is that an aye or?
or nay, or
That's-
whatever,
that's a nay.
opposed.
Okay, got one in the opposition, that passes. Item 3, public hearing on Plan 180810, Michael Zerflu. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from the R2 Mixed Residential District to the B2 General Commercial District. The subject properties are located at 400 and 404 Daly Avenue, parcels 34-11,000 and 34-11,000-1. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Mike, you're here. Do you want to speak to your request?
Yes, thank you. Adam, is there a way to put it up on the screen, or does that take a while?
It will take a little
I-
while.
that's fine.
They have a location map
Okay.
in their packet.
Basically, the rate, when I made an offer to purchase on this building, and then I contacted Adam about doing signage, and he said this is zoned R2 with a conditional use permit. And I contacted Garth Larson, who I'm buying it from, and he was, I guess I remember that now, but he kind of forgot about it. It's been, the use that it's currently used as is planning on staying exactly the same for those two buildings. So Adam said you cannot get I wanted to get a different sign. Right now, there's 3 little signs there, and I wanted to get a different sign. This is hot off the, I don't know if it's gonna be just like that or not, but, so with the current zoning, I cannot do the sign I want, correct, Adam?
Correct.
And so that's why I wanted to get it zoned. I applied for B2 because you can have a little bit bigger sign. We're not talking a huge sign here. What's the size it can be? How many square inches or square feet, I forget.
In the B2 district, it's based on the frontage of the property, so if I'm recalling, it's right around 100 square feet.
So basically, it would be enough signage for all the tenants that are in there to have a spot, which would be, I think it's about 15 inches by just under 6 feet is what it would amount to. This is going to be on the corner of First and Daly. So I actually, Friday, I knocked the people on Strodeman. They're the only ones within a 300-foot setback. I had a letter done up. I knocked on all the doors. I want to say I talked to people at every one but 2 of them, and I left the letter there, explaining to them the only concern, nobody had a concern other than one lady said, are my taxes going to go up? And I said, this shouldn't affect your property at all, because you're not going to view it at all from them properties. It's impossible to see the sign or anything like that. No, I have no plans to change anything else. Plan on leaving it just like it is as office space. So, and none of the other neighbors, they said that's fine. It's not going to affect me, so I don't have any problems.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on behalf of the public hearing item, either for or against? And the second and third time, anyone wishing to speak on the public hearing? Otherwise, I will close the public hearing. I guess I didn't open it at a certain time, I'm sorry. 4:11. We'll close the public hearing. We'll move on to item 14, number 4, action on Plan 180810, Michael Zerflu. Adam, do you want to talk about the staff report and the recommendation?
Sure, yeah, as Mike kind of gave a brief history of where this request came from, I talked with them, gave them kind of 2 alternative options. The other option, and the one at least me from a planning perspective that I was more comfortable with, is a lesser zoning, which is the B3, which is a neighborhood commercial district, versus the B2. Obviously, Mr. Zerflu, as the applicant, is not as favorable towards that because it has more restrictive sign regulations. The maximum sign under the B3 is 60 square feet, so it would take, he's proposing let's see, a 7 by 12, so about 84 square feet. So it would be smaller than what he's ultimately looking for, which obviously reduces the sign for each tenant. However, use-wise, the B3 district, it's more restrictive. It's basically tied to residential and low-impact commercial uses such as office, service businesses. The B2 district is our auto-oriented district, which is basically what East Street South is, so it allows a range of anything from the same type of office service businesses to retail to restaurants, drive-through, so it's a more intense use. Just based on the location of where it is, although it's near the expressway, it's not directly on the expressway, and you do have residential behind it. And again, it's not tied to the proposed use that Mr. Zerflu has because he's intending to keep it for office, which you wouldn't see a huge change from what it is today under the R2 with a conditional use going to B2, but 10 years down the line, if someone wanted to redevelop it, the city has less control of what that ultimately would be if it's rezoned to B2. So I do recommend approval of a rezoning to a commercial district. If I had my druthers, it would be the B3 district, but the B2 district is consistent with the comprehensive plan, which shows it for mixed use. It is adjacent to a commercial corridor, so I do not feel a B2 district would be inconsistent with our long-range plans. I'm just more comfortable with the more restrictive.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
Why does the sign need to be that high?
Why does it need to be that high? To get some visibility. It can't be any higher than the top of the building is what I think Adam told me, right?
Correct. Yep.
So this is down lower. We're trying to get, the whole idea with the signage is people want to know what's in there. I mean, quite honestly, I think having that sign will make it safer because people can see what's in there, because even telling people we're on the corner of First and Daly, it's a little confusing to them. And that way they can see the sign if they're sitting at the traffic light when they're coming down First Street. Would that be, they'd be going north on First Street, they'll see it?
Okay, I don't have the problem with the sign size, whether it's 96 square feet or whatever, but that's just, in my opinion, absolutely egregious. I mean, is Cook Family Chiropractor, are they gonna want a huge sign like that? Is River Hill Dental gonna wanna now have a billboard in front? I mean, it's like I said, the size, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
But the way that there's a 6-foot guy standing there, and that's gonna be 15 feet in the air, even across the street at the hospital, that's a sign that's built on the ground. It is elevated to a point, but that's for the interstate, not for a corner on the corner of Daly and First, in my opinion.
Can I comment on that? Or?
Yeah, public hearing is closed, but I would allow a comment, yeah.
This, I literally printed off about 10 minutes. I called Stratford Sign and Rapid Sign. Rapid Sign didn't give me anything yet. I said, just give me something that I can take to them. So I literally hardly looked at it. So as far as the height, I'm not, what I would like as the minimum though is to be, so I'm 6'2", I'd like the minimum of the bottom to be 6 feet, be just for snow and stuff like that.
That's probably more along the lines of the Aspirus sign,
Yeah.
right, in terms
I
of
don't-
comparables,
yeah.
It does look like a billboard.
If you look
with a
at,
second
Right, yeah.
elevation to it.
I guess a good one would be on the corner of the Expressway and A Street, the Shopko Plaza 2 is that? And again, I don't know what size that is, but similar to that. I've been in the hospital, we had to move, all this stuff, I'm not complaining. This is just hot off the press, so this is not like it has to be this. The key is to have those spaces so each tenant can have a space. Right now, there's 3 little signs there, and I don't care for that. Those would all be removed. So it doesn't have to be, I'm guessing that then is the top of that's 18 feet high. It's not like I need it to be that high. But the big thing is, the other zoning is really restrictive on the size of the sign. And you know,
That's a question, for a point of clarification, what's the maximum size under the B3 that would be allowed if there's a consensus here that's more appropriate in terms of that building? I mean, I feel like it's a building that would be in Woodlands Business Park, therefore a monument sign or something along the lines of an Aspirus. What's been mentioned seems a bit more appropriate, but can you tell the commission what the maximum B3?
The B3, the maximum for a multi-tenant monument sign, which is basically what that would be categorized, is 60 square feet. So 5 by 12. He's proposing 7 by 12. So if that would basically result in the loss of potentially up to 4 of those tenant spaces, leaving 6 tenant spaces.
it'd be very small lettering if we.
Are there any differences in the allowable height between the 2 zonings? Does it say?
Yeah. The maximum height in the B2 is 35 feet or 5 feet above the building.
Okay.
The B3 district is 20 feet for a multi-tenant sign. This is 20 feet exactly what this is. So the height wouldn't be affected by a B3 versus a B2. This would comply. I would say the one thing is the B3 does require the monument style. So that would be like Aspirus, where there's a base that is the same
Or Quick Trip
width.
or some of the
It's a
others?
solid base. It's not whole base. There would have to or be a wrap around that base.
So I guess my only comment is that, to me, that's the appropriate style of sign for a business district or a business property that's close to residential property. And again, I no longer have a vote on the committee, I'm just making a comment. The only other concern I have is the future potential use of the property if it were zone B2, even with no plans for a change in the immediate future, close to or adjacent to residential property. It just seems like an appropriate buffer in that location because it is a bit softer with the green space of the expressway between that and the business.
I guess I have a bigger concern with the sign code of having a 35-foot tall sign or a 20, if that is 20 feet, as you just said, technically that's permitted under the sign code.
But it would need to be
On
on
a B2.
But it would have to be a monument
a monument style sign.
Under a B3 or B2?
Under a B3, it would have to be.
But if it's a B2, that is permitted.
Correct, yep.
But under a B3, the height would be permitted?
The height would be, but it would have to be monument style, which means basically there would have to be a solid base here. It couldn't just be 2 poles. So a lot of
Okay.
times that's a decorative brick base from here.
Which
to
I'm
the
fine
bottom of
with,
the sign.
again,
It's
this is
obviously a cost
just,
factor.
if you wanted that to look more decorative or whatever, I don't, quite honestly, I'm fine with it staying the zoning it is now, except for the signage. I need to, that's my biggest concern is to get, you got 3 different signs there, it looks, that's an attractive looking building, I want to make it look better. It's a big investment for me. I don't see anybody ever buying that property to do something different. I'm paying fair market value on the tax bills, like $800,000 for the 2 buildings. Nobody's gonna buy them to tear it down for that, they're too narrow strips. It's a nice setup, they're good quality buildings. I plan, I don't wanna say I'll never move my office again, but I plan on this owning these buildings for 15 to 20 years or longer, is what my goal is with this.
Great.
So.
Yeah, if the size is not the concern, if it's the style and alternative, because it is a rezoning request, but there is some abilities to basically restrict signage through the rezoning process, is my understanding. So if you're okay with the size, but you would like to limit the height, the rezoning could go to the B2 district and limit it to, if it's 15 feet, that would give you the 6 foot and then the 7 feet on top, which would be, it would be a reduction.
How would that be enforced in the future?
No different than how I came across the fact that it's R2 with the conditional use. It's tracking it back through the records.
Okay.
Is it more likely to be lost by a rezoning than having an actual conditional use? Yes.
Okay.
Was there a comment?
Well, I guess I wanted to reemphasize, I don't care the size. If it's 96 square feet, I don't care if that's what you want, Mike. But I want it consistent in the monument style with every other business that's up and down, and including A Street, because there's no other business, I don't care where it is, unless it's the old Rapids Mall that's got a sign like that, and that's gonna get tore down anyway. So, if you can make it work, Adam, in terms of whatever the zoning request is, that it isn't a billboard, 96 square feet is fine. If that's a case where that is what you need for our future clients and whatever else, then whatever. But it's not gonna be a billboard.
May I make one other
Sure, and I just want to make a comment real quick. So the only concern I have is future owners, right? And if we don't include some sort of stipulation in any action, so I just offer that for consideration. I don't want somebody, you're gonna hang on to it for a while, but somebody
Sure, I
may offer you $1.5
understand.
million
I
for the
understand.
building, Mike's gonna sell it, right? So,
Sure.
but anyway, go ahead, make your comment.
I mean, as far as the square foot or whatever this is, I don't even know right now. I don't know if you did the calculation. The only other thing, if we could, I'd be fine with restricting the height, but I would like to have the B2 size, because what I would like to, again, this has been rush, and put something like, and the reason why I'm rushing with this is because I'm hoping to get the concrete, get this done this year yet. Because in 2 months, or 3 months for sure, we're talking frost on the ground. So that's the main reason. But that being said, if this, I'm not trying to get more, but maybe where we can put like it's 400 Daly Avenue on, across the top. So that's, as far as this height, I'm guessing it's about 18 feet or so, or what does it say?
20 feet almost.
20 feet. And, so if the restriction is the top of the sign can be no more than 20 feet, and we need to do something decorative, whether we put brick or, box them in and put brick, or I don't know for sure what you mean, or if you have to box the whole thing, but
You'd have to box the whole thing for monument stuff.
there is, but I used to own the Town and Country Shopping Center by Goodwill. That's similar to this too,
That's, I think, the problem.
on A Street.
I think that's part of the concern is the zoning, that B3 district, we wanted it to look a bit more of a aesthetically similar to those in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
River Hill Dental, Cook Family Chiropractic, Members Advantage, they're all very similar signage. I think it's maybe the only dissimilar one to those would be River City's Bank, but that's still more of a monument style, as I understand it, right? It's got a base, and maybe we should probably be putting pictures up in some of our memories, but I think that's the concern, is
Sure.
just trying to bridge how much of a billboard is this here, and the height. I think the height is a legitimate concern.
Well,
It's very,
and
very tall.
Detlefsen even has a monument sign. Quick Trip across the street, we reiterated, has got a monument sign. Steve's Plumbing doesn't even have a sign. Fifth Street, that's on the corner of Fifth, Salon, they've got a nice monument sign. There's, like I said, that a billboard does not fit there. That's what it is. I want to work with you, Mr. Zerflu, because I understand that, business, but then on the other hand, we've got a duty too to look out for everybody else. You've got a vested interest in this particular issue, but as a quasi-judicial process, we've got to take everything into consideration. And signs on A Street are different. That's a business district. This is more of a neighborhood business area. So that's where I'm coming from with this. As far as the 96 square feet, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
But if you're not willing to meet us halfway and go with a monument sign, then I'm.
I guess I didn't say I wasn't willing to meet. So what you're saying, if I understand right, by a monument sign, you just close that in, all of that?
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be concrete, it can be,
Yeah, it can be
Stone or-
masonry, it can be wood, they make
Okay.
metal cladded. The Aspirus, when it was originally put up, the doctor's clinic, that was a metal skirt basically
Sure.
around the base of it. It's
Okay.
just to enclose the two to take away from the pole, so it looks more
okay.
aesthetic. I guess if I can make a suggestion, based on what I'm hearing, if the rezoning would be to allow the B2, that allows the larger sign, but restrict the sign to be something more like 15 feet in height, which would basically lower this portion down to above the head. So you'd be looking at basically this high versus there, and then it has to be monument style.
Absolutely. I'm only one person on this information, so.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but part of the problem with the 15 feet, what it concerns me is if this is daily, going here, and here's First Street, it's on it's a hill coming down from First Street, so we may be, because I have to be set back from the corner, I wish.
Are you gonna move the sign from its current position? I believe the sign is closer to the driveway, or is it?
There's 3 signs there, Mayor.
Yeah.
Can I use this?
Yep.
Kind of, if I can show you guys. So this is, the 2 buildings I'm buying are right here. So there's a sign up here.
On the backside, yeah.
I'm really prepared.
That's all right, go ahead.
There's a sign up here. Can I write on this?
Yeah.
There's a sign up here, and there's 2 signs down here right now. If you can see my, so there's 1 sign here, 1 sign, and this is where it's pretty flat to here, and then it starts coming down. So my concern is that, we need to be, am I making my, you're coming down the hill, and, I guess to compromise, I'm willing to do the monument type if we maybe the max to be 18 feet. I'm not looking to have it really tall. Again, because I just want the correct size signage so it's easy to read when people are in vehicles, because the higher, the less height I go, the less money it's gonna cost me. I don't wanna be penny wise and dollar foolish though, and now all of a sudden it's 15 feet. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And again, this is 84 inches, which is that 7 feet?
7 feet.
About 7 feet high. So, for 8 feet off the ground, that might work. I mean, if we can make it look good because of the thing, but we have to be, I think, 5 feet from each property line. I mean,
5 feet.
so we have to go 5 feet into the hill more than is there already, and 5 feet away. So 5 feet from Daly up to First Street, and 5 feet from First Street over to towards Daly, if I'm making sense. So we're going back up the hill, I guess, a little bit. So that's why maybe we can compromise there and make it a maximum of 18 feet.
Well, that's another thing too, at Ida's Bar and Grill, they don't even have a sign, but they're packed every Friday.
Well, I agree with that, but we've got,
It's a case where nowadays, I don't even look for signs. I'm not that young, but I just type it in GPS on my phone,
I understand.
Where I'm going, so I mean,
But-
it's, again, this is what I'm throwing out there. You can have the size 96 square feet or whatever, but it's gonna be a monument sign.
I'm fine with the monument sign. I'm just asking that, what's the max on the B3 zoning size?
Size-wise?
Yeah.
60.
And what height?
20 feet.
I think that's what the kicker here, and I share the sentiment, the height is a bit of a concern in that district because of the similar like properties.
Sure.
If there had been some other precedents, maybe I'd be a little bit more flexible, but you're saying if we can give you the square footage, you would accept a monument sign at the ground or within maybe 4 feet?
Not at the ground, I'd like to have a
How
maximum.
tall is
but-
this sign, 5 feet?
How far is
How
what?
tall is the sign?
7.
It's a 7-foot tall cabinet, and then you're talking, I mean, I guess I would be
really
fine
tall
if you had like a 5-foot base, let's say. 4 foot might look weird. 4-foot base with a 7-foot tall cabinet. It keeps it at the ground, achieves a monument style, but yet gives him 13 feet, right? That's if we go 5 and 7. Yeah, 12 feet, 13. Yeah.
I think it would be very beneficial if we had an accurate drawing. So we
If we'd have what?
If you would have a drawing to show us exactly what it would be, instead of.
Yeah, I understand what you're
saying
saying.
it's- Yeah, I think.
The problem is then we're into November and then I'm not gonna get a sign up this year, I highly doubt, but,
We did set the second planning commission meeting date for 2 weeks from today.
so what's the other option to go? I can't get conditional use permit now, so the other option would be to go to B3 and then I could get a conditional use permit? If I wanted a bigger sign?
B3, you could apply for a variance up to 25%. So on 60 square feet, that would get you up to 75 square feet.
Up to 75, so that wouldn't really work either. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, you know, when I'm traveling and stuff, I do that too, but people do come by there. Right now, we've got, in the upper level is the accounting, and Dan Gook is on the upper level. And in the lower level, we've got the acupuncture, we've got Beltone Hearing, us, River Cities Investments, K&K CAD Design, and Ameriprise. And then I've got 2 vacant spaces in there.
Is it reasonable to have the name of a, you know, the business name on a sign and then have individual signs on the buildings? I know if he's got.
It all adds to the square footage, I think, right? That's the concern.
But if it's on the building?
Yeah,
It's
a building sign, right?
That's restricted in some regards. In the B2, it's very generous, so that would work. In the B3, it's intended that signage is limited.
Okay,
So
got it.
It would be difficult to pull off in the B3.
And I did think of that, but also I think that building looks good, I wanna keep it
does.
looking good. But
think
where the
it's
sign's gonna be
attractive.
located, it's not gonna affect anybody residential wise.
It's
I think
just
it's gonna
more
look
the
better when I
aesthetic.
clean up those other signs.
Commissioners, thoughts?
I would say can we postpone it till the next meeting? And you come back with a better rendering? Because like you said, you wanted to put that 400 Daily Avenue. Now that's gonna add to the square footage, wouldn't it?
And height.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if we
But
what if I
technically-
put 400 daily on a building, is that considered a sign?
No, addressing.
Then
wouldn't be
forget it, I
considered a
won't
sign.
make that any bigger.
But an alternative, if you wanted, you could approve those zoning subject to the sign being approved by the commission at an additional meeting. So that gets the zoning in place, that gets the square footage in place, but then he would have to bring back a drawing for you guys to approve. So the council action could still move forward this month on the rezoning, but the sign would be ultimately up to the commission.
So, we're talking pushing it to November then, or?
That would allow council action in October, and the commission, if it's willing, could meet in 2 weeks.
We have a meeting interim meeting in 2 weeks from today.
And then does it have to go back in front of the council again for the
It
sign?
would go the next night, potentially, unless the council.
Council
decides.
meeting doesn't happen until after a proposed second meeting would happen for the planning commission. So a council meeting isn't gonna occur till the third Tuesday in October anyways.
Okay.
So it isn't gonna happen for 2 weeks plus 1 day.
If we acted upon it or not, right?
Regardless.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can achieve the same ends potentially with the second meeting with a more enhanced drawing. Is there a height direction we want to give Mr. Zerflu today on this?
Yeah, I think this is too high. I think
I'm sorry, we're here,
Oh,
I can't hear very good.
I think the sign as drawn here is too high, but yet we can't make a decision because we don't have a accurate drawing in front of us. So I would, it's hard to say, you know.
I mean, if we're thinking monument sign, I think it looks strange to have a monument
Yeah, that
10 feet in the air
tall.
even, right? A base of the monument. I think the new welcome signs have a monument base of 5 feet, maximum maybe even 3. So
Our
thoughts
welcome
on
signs?
the new welcome signs have
I
probably,
don't think our bases are even that high.
they're smaller than that maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That
They must be 3 feet, with, the base is 3 feet,
Yeah.
I believe.
That won't accomplish what I'm trying to get because, again, if you can look at it this way, here's First Street. I want, when people are coming down the hill, they can see it too. And again, it's not just what I want, it's to help the businesses that are there be successful too.
Well, you want them to see it when they're still on top of the hill, right? That's what you're trying to
Well,
accomplish here?
they won't be able to see that really on the top of the hill. They're gonna have to start coming down because the building will block it.
Yeah,
So that when they're coming down the hill, but that's I don't want to say a steep hill, but when you're riding your bike up it, it's kind of steep. Going down is easy on my bike, but when you're coming down, so I'm trying to explain how it would be. If the mayor is actually the curb of First Street, the building, I don't know how far the building is off the sidewalk, 10 feet, I'm guessing, maybe 15. So they'd only, you know, it's gonna be blocked by part of that, and when they're coming down the hill, I'd like them to be able to see that too.
Yeah, the building's
Is what the goal is.
all of 10 feet. So then we're not talking about a monument sign anymore, we're talking more like a dual lit cabinet, a 2-sided cabinet sign.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry if I didn't explain that.
No, I'm just trying to visualize what it's gonna ultimately look like, which I think is quite different than what I'm hearing other commissioners state. That's why I'm just trying to.
I think we can make it look very attractive. I think what would look more attractive if we do something like this with, like I said, a height of a compromise. Somebody had mentioned 15, this apparently is 20, if we compromise maybe at 18. If instead, they'd probably have this inside, but let's say we box that in and put some type of stone on it, I think it would look very attractive personally. The newer type, not brick, but,
Stucco or some.
obviously I want it to look, I think that building looks very nice. And I plan on keeping it as good or better. The landscaping's let go a little bit around the building. That doesn't affect you guys, but we're gonna redo some landscaping there. This is an investment putting this in here. I don't want it to look like, I want it to look good. I want it to enhance the building, and I want it to look good for the neighborhood. I personally would think rather that a monument sign I probably won't do it then. Because if it's gonna be that low to the ground, I don't think it would make sense to spend that kind of money. To put like something like this, and whether we go 2 foot around it, and that we, again, put stone on all 4 sides, I think would look very attractive.
Adam, how, do you recollect, and this is probably a stretch, how high the Marshfield Clinic sign is over on the east side? That's kind of an interesting monument style, but that's a very tall sign.
That one is tall. That one is gonna be that's gonna be north of 20 feet.
But it's far less traditional than what this is a traditional as they come, right?
It's very contemporary.
Yeah, so if you went to the tall, narrow, I hear what you're saying. I think we'd all agree, boxing that in as a monument would look really weird. Plus, there's vision triangle issues if you're trying to get close to the intersection and there's a driveway there, right?
Yeah.
So
The driveway's further down, the
two
driveway's on
driveways?
the other end, there's only one.
There's only one on the other
Yep.
end, okay.
It's as close to the next building as you
Okay.
can probably
It
legally
doesn't
get,
make
I'm
sense
guessing.
to make my point, but okay.
The only concern is, we're looking here is 2 parcels with 2 different buildings, right?
This building would not be affected, there is a sign there that they don't
Yeah.
even use. That would just stay there, that sign that's there, it'd be this, so again, we'd eliminate that, and put one down
Yeah.
here.
And I understand that, but if we were to rezone both parcels to be 2, now, let's say you sell this parcel off, now that parcel has the right to put up a sign just like that, right?
I'm fine with taking this
Right.
off my request, then, as far as I'm concerned. We can leave that as R2 with conditional use permit. I'd be fine with removing that from there,
Okay.
100%, because that's not my intent at all.
Well, commissioners, there's been a few thoughts about.
And I'm
postponement,
sorry,
and
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine, I'm just curious to know what folks are thinking. If there's a motion on the floor, or.
If I could just say-
There's not a motion, go ahead.
My goal is to, it's a little over $800,000 investment in both buildings. My goal is to enhance the building and make it look good for, I want it to be attractive for people that are driving by. I think that would look, again, I don't want to say culture stone, I'm talking, the veneer that they put on, fireplaces in front of homes, but it looks very attractive. I think that would look really, really sharp, quite honestly.
Okay.
Similar to what's inside, if you go to Riverview Hospital, up their staircase, they have, those slats of, it's not cheap, but it'll look good.
Commissioners, is there a desire to make a motion?
Yeah, Joe, can you bring that back up again?
No.
Going forward, if the other parcels were to be sold, they would come back and want to rezone everything B2, right? Is that that's the future plan?
The future land use shows it as mixed use, which is mainly commercial with some residential. So yes, a B2 district would make sense there.
I don't know if you wanted to look at Mr. Terry's computer here. But again, this is so the hill, I think, starts right about here and starts
Yeah.
going down. My touch it is gonna do something. So right where that car is about where that sign would be.
Right corner. I lied to you, I'm sorry.
So,
Right about where he's got the car.
yeah, right in here, this is where the hill kind of goes down. And the entrance, so the parking, and again, you can kind of see these 2 signs here, 1, 2, and that one there, they'll be eliminated.
Sign.
But you're gonna keep this one?
No,
You said
not like
no,
that.
It's a
That'll
tall,
go
it's a tall,
Yep.
thin sign, and I
Yep.
think I mean, that could be,
There's quite a bit of square footage of sign there right now, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is what it is.
well, and I think what Joe was maybe driving at is a tall, narrow sign would accomplish the same thing, right? You would just have certain businesses, maybe your larger tenants on top and your lower tenants on the bottom. It would just look aesthetically more pleasing than something, or maybe more of a fit in the neighborhood than something like that. I mean, is that what?
Yeah,
what you're-
and I'm,
words are I'm just assuming that's.
it is, that's, you know, I was trying to think of a comparison of a sign that would be that tall that is kind of a monument style of sign, because that's hard to picture. You know, a traditional monument style sign is low to the ground. You know, they're low to the ground. There's generally some annual or perennial type vegetation around them. You know, they're what you see in the area. You know, the part that I struggle with too is that, you know, rezoning just for the sign. Again, I'm no longer a voting member, but I just want to express that's.
And I guess the thing, not to interrupt, the thing that, I mean, I could have probably just not even said about the sign and just said, well, I'm buying these, I want them to be rezoned this, maybe got it in, and then just done what I wanted to do. That's not my intent here. I want these businesses to be successful. They pay rent. That's part of the big if this was a vacant building, we wouldn't be talking.
Sure.
But I'm buying it for the quality of the buildings, the tenants that are in there, and the hopes to continue to keep tenants. I think since it was built, the upper level's always been an accounting Keller, Neora, then Whiffley, and now Legacy. And that's the intent, is to keep it just like it is. I think putting an attractive sign, again, I can picture that culture stone. I'm not talking a culture stone from the 70s, you know, nice looking, very contemporary looking. The building's contemporary, should have a good fit with that. I think it would look very attractive.
Well, and I think having worked with Stratford now on a couple of projects, most recently the Welcome to Rapid signs, basically, that they're capable of doing what this group is maybe thinking around the monument sign, getting some height, but yet not compromising aesthetics. And I think some time would afford Stratford the ability to come back with something that's workable by the commission. If I'm not putting too many words in commissioners' mouths, I guess I'd like to.
No, I feel strongly that we need to have in front of us a picture of what the sign is going to look like.
To be comfortable with the
Yes.
rezoning.
Yeah.
So how do we, and I'm okay with, I guess, tell me when we'd be able to do that. I guess when's the next meeting?
2 weeks from tonight would be our next regularly scheduled.
That's like the 15th or something?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're gonna hold, I'm fine then to hold it over till I can get a different drawing for you.
Well, we don't have a motion yet, I think we're
sorry.
trying to get some consensus around what product, if we are gonna postpone this, do we wanna be able to have to act upon? I mean, it's hard to not give too much direction and be able to act, I feel, too, at the same time. Mr. Kubaschak.
My suggestion is, again, the 96, I don't care about the size, but the height is 12 feet. I'm not gonna budge on that, period.
Anybody else have any thoughts? So we've got a proposal of a height not to exceed 12 feet. If you achieve your 96, or whatever, what is 96 throughout the body of the sign, in a maybe contemporary way, as opposed to very traditional like this sign here, I could see myself supporting something like that. Commissioners, any other thoughts along those lines? Okay, do we want to postpone this, or do we just want no action taken and then we can bring it back at our next meeting? Any preference, commissioners? Entertain a motion either way.
Would it be appropriate to, because we have discussed it, would it be appropriate to entertain a motion to table until 2 weeks from now to revisit?
Unless we take Adam's suggestion earlier around act on the zoning contingent upon, unless we don't want to rezone,
Okay.
without that actual sign. I mean, to be contingent upon the sign design at our next meeting.
That would at least give Mr. Zurflu maybe a little more predictability that the commission's moving in a direction before he invests any dollars in sign design.
Well, the other thing is then the commission could take action on the zoning, and the report would be to the council in plenty of time, so it doesn't seem like a last minute action. If you postpone the rezoning action until the night before the commission, I don't know how the council's gonna see that.
I wouldn't have a problem explaining it to the rest of the council, being the council representative. That's how business is done. So I mean, I wouldn't worry about it being kind of like snuck underneath the radar type of
Yeah,
a
I
thing.
just don't want that
Yeah.
impression.
Reporting to the next night seems to cause a rub, yeah, okay.
Well, I would say one more thing is, you know, if he wanted to, we could rezone this parcel, but the parcel next to it, do we want to rezone it? Because now if somebody bought that, now they can put up a sign like that too. They don't have to come back to the commission. So I would propose if we wanted to rezone it, that we just look at that one parcel instead of the dual parcel.
Per the
Yeah.
concession Mr.
Per the
Zerflu made, to
request,
say
yeah.
that your request would be just to rezone that one parcel. Okay,
And that's fine with me too, but if I can't get a sign that's workable, that I feel is workable for the building, I don't wanna rezone it. Cause then I'm sure my taxes are gonna go up, quite honestly.
Then I make a motion to postpone until 2 weeks from tonight.
a motion, is there a second to
Second.
postpone? We have a second by Wesley, motion by Kubaschak to postpone to the 15th, I believe it is. Second by Wesley, to postpone the rezoning on Plan 180810. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
So may I just ask a question then, so that on the 15th, we'll meet here again, and if it moves forward, it could be approved the next day.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to did I bring business cards with me, but I'd be happy to meet anybody there. Of course, they're in my
We know where to
car.
find you at your new office.
Alrighty,
Without
yeah,
the
there
sign.
you go.
And there's a sign there, I saw it tonight when I checked it out before
Thank
I
you
came to
very
the
much for your
meeting.
time.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right.
So, Mr. Mayor, for
Yes.
clarification, as far as the next meeting, and maybe it was just for, like I said, clarification, it's not a typically regularly scheduled meeting, it's more of an irregularly scheduled meeting if we have something, or now we
Yeah,
don't need to.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, that was the case. We wouldn't
Yeah.
meet unless there was architectural reviews.
Right, yeah, it was intended mainly for site plan review or architectural review, non-public hearing matters, basically, that would come up. And those would be inconsistent, but if we didn't have any agenda items, we would not meet on that date.
Yeah, regardless, it's as need, not
Correct.
regularly scheduled.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Right, I did say regularly scheduled. This would be a regularly
This is
scheduled
our
meeting.
regular.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Okay, I think we're set. I guess the only thing I have a question, Adam, pertaining to, I think we got some consensus out on the table. I'm just concerned, you know, the ultimate design meeting the test of the commission, so it may make sense for commissioners to speak with Mr. Zerflu on an individual basis to let him know your concerns. Though,
I
it
can
is a
try
public
and
hearing,
either-
and maybe
yeah.
I should walk back my words.
Yeah, I'm not sure if,
Yeah, because it's a rezoning, and technically, we're not supposed to take any information between meetings. So
Right.
walk
I
back
can
my
try and
words.
condense the discussion and sketch up something as staff and present it to Zerflu.
That would
With
be
the height
most-
restriction and the monuments.
Most
Yeah.
appropriate, since we've gone from a rezoning for a sign, and that muddies the water, quite frankly. Okay, item 5, Plan 180829 Woodtrust Bank. The applicant is requesting site plan and architectural review for the update of a banking facility located at 2651 8th Street South. Right. Adam, do you want to walk through the staff report, and then we'll let Larry, or Larry, do you want to maybe go first, and then we can fill in the details?
I guess I think the write-up is pretty self-explanatory. I'm here to answer any questions, if anybody has questions.
Presently, the parking lot is not landscaped, right? So some of the renderings, the landscape plan is, because it isn't mostly landscaped. I mean, no, the bank is landscaped, but some of the parking lot,
Well, what's driving this is not necessarily the landscaping.
I understand, yeah, but it's
you know,
just a question, yeah.
It's the fact that things are dated inside, and trying to right-size and make better use of the existing space. The square footage is a little larger than what we typically need at that as a branch location. So we're looking at remodeling the bank space, and then creating some potential lease space.
Part of the reason why I asked that question is because in order for all of this to be successful, there needs to be some separation of use, or more than just a perceived separation of a property line between the Goodwill and the former Zerflu Plaza, and just the mess that is all that massive sea of parking, right? And so I think that's why I posed the question, just to make sure that, I know many people complain about past decisions by the city because of maybe lack of zoning and some other requirements, so that's why I wanna make sure I pose the question.
Well, I think we'd certainly be open to kind of fix some of those problems
Yeah.
as best as we can.
Commissioners, or Adam, you wanna talk through your staff report?
I tried to make it as logical as possible in the report. This is a relatively new procedure as part of the new zoning code, so hopefully it made sense. I just kind of went through the main items that I looked at as a staff person, which is basically our landscaping, layout, design, all those type of things. Access-wise, I would note, based on the mayor's comment with kind of the issue with Goodwill next door and some of the things, there is a proposed, and I don't know if this was Wood Trust's idea or the site designers, but there's basically a curb raised island that runs along the entire north side with only one access point proposed to allow cross access, but not to encourage kind of what you see now, where someone pulling out a Wood Trust parking space is not sure if they're gonna get hit as someone's flying through the Goodwill parking lot. So that separation is there, but still allowing that cross access. That is encouraged by the code, so that if someone is at Goodwill and wants to go to the retail service store or the bank, they can still make that connection without having to go out into the street. The landscaping does meet the requirements of the code. The one issue that I did note is there just wasn't any landscaping shown along that frontage, which seemed kind of a, I don't know if it was an oversight or if it was intentional or if it was a vision concern with the sign that's there. But if you're gonna have nicely landscaped back area, it didn't make sense to me to kind of ignore that front portion. So I did recommend putting in some landscaping along there. Otherwise, I didn't have any other issues, so I did recommend approval.
And the landscaping in the front being building landscaping or along 8th Street?
It would be along 8th Street. So there is this, use this document, it's a larger, it's basically in this area here. So you've got this raised curb area. So the landscaping would be installed somewhere along here.
Parking lot screening or parking screening maybe more or less?
Yeah, really just to break it up a little bit.
Yeah, no.
Similar to what you would see kind of here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to put a lot of trees necessarily right there,
Or
just
visual.
because it is narrow and then you're going to block the sign. You can probably get away with a tree here, but this would likely be low shrubs. So that you see the sign from both directions. It can help block headlights from the parking spaces. Again, something more along the lines of what
From
they're
a
doing here.
code standpoint, is that required that there needs to be stuff like within a few feet of the A Street? Or is it based on the entire property and the number of, what do you call it, points or?
Yeah. It's, the number of landscaping points for the parking lot are met. The distribution is what I'm getting at. So if you wanted to take some of this landscaping and move it here, that would still work, because you would
Okay.
still meet the number of landscaping
Yeah.
points that are required by
Yeah.
the code, because it's really that these are new parking spaces that is
Right.
requiring the
Right,
landscaping.
right.
Now, if you really
Well, I
like
think-
what's
I
back
think-
there
I think
and
my
want to add
major,
additional.
my major concern is safety
Mhm.
from people visually being able to, see traffic and that sort of stuff, so.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah,
And
normally,
landscaping generally gives people pause when they're driving in terms of slowing people down, because there's a
Right.
perceived barrier of not being able to see.
yeah, if this was a whole blank slate, new development, there would be a requirement for street trees, basically, along the front. There would be landscaping requirements in the parking lot, and there would be landscape requirements around the building. But since the building exists,
Yeah.
since the development exists, the
Yeah.
only landscaping requirement is for the parking.
right,
If that
yeah.
makes
Now,
sense.
this is a little bit of work in progress from the landscape stuff was kind of secondary to the site plan related to the building and the parking spaces. But yeah, and then this drive-up was something that is still an idea that we were trying to prove out to see, okay, if we were to find a tenant that wanted a drive-up capability, would it work?
Yeah.
We may not do that depending upon
Yeah.
on the tenant requirements and needs, but it does look like it would work, and we could kind of still control the traffic flow, so.
Right.
But yeah, point taken on the landscape, up on the front there. Obviously we want it to look nice and.
One, I think just from an architectural review, related to materials and all of that, it's definitely a departure from what we currently have in a lot of areas on 8th Street, and I think it's obviously a reflection of the brand to want to be presentable, so I appreciate that. I don't know, Commissioners, did you have any other comments related to the architectural review?
No, I think it looks good. I guess I haven't really studied it or whatever, but, yeah, I mean, it looks like you guys wanna, you know, make it look nice, so I appreciate that. What, sorry to, what kind of businesses are you potentially looking at? Almost anybody that would rent it to an extent?
No, we don't wanna put somebody in there that's not compatible.
Sure.
You know, we've got some potential types of businesses, but, you know, we don't have any named at this point, and,
Sure.
you know, we're kind of in the early stages. The main thing that we were looking at least this, it's like, okay, how would we make this work? Kind of redesign our space and then create a tenant space. What size would that be? You know, and what the cost of this would be.
Sure, sure.
And maybe for commission clarification, the conversation we had before we started was around kind of a prioritization of what this branch is utilized for.
Yeah, because over the years, you know, that branch has been added on to a couple occasions and has had some remodeling. And we've also had, basically, in addition to your typical branch activities, there was some more operational type activities there. I mean, we had loan ops used to be out there, our main call center was there. And, you know, with the advent of various technologies and, you know, retail banking systems like mobile, remote deposit and all those types of things, you know, we're doing fewer teller transactions, but we're doing more business. But we don't need quite that space, so we're trying to right size it a little bit and move some of the operational people downtown to get some synergies there. So
Sure.
right now, we've got some departments where you got half the people here and half the people there, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Thanks. I think that was helpful just for background of what's driving this whole, not just because you want to make the bank look prettier, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Although we do appreciate that, I guess. Commission, any, do we want to encapsulate any component to your recommendation around the screening along the front parking along 8th Street?
Oh, that is incorporated in the recommendation.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you already said that. Okay. Commissioners, any thoughts on the motion or any action?
Well, just one little thing I'll throw, I guess in terms of screening, the one thing that I got a little bit of always kind of point out is the vision triangles, because there is a financial institution, A Street, that one place where I am, and the sign is right there as you're trying to come out of the exit, and how that got put there, I don't know, and I'm not gonna name names or whatever type of thing like that, but yeah, as far as being cognizant, I'd rather almost err on the side of caution of maybe not necessarily having screening, because once it's in there, and especially if it's a fixed thing, then now we're dealing with.
It's behind the sidewalk, right?
Yep, it's fine.
Well, this particular one that I'm talking about is behind the sidewalk, and it just blocks everything. You can't see, I can talk to you,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
but it, I mean, it blocks everything, so.
So maybe we,
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the main entrance over here. So again, the sign is right here, that's not being relocated. Here, probably the concern would be if there's any landscaping in this little jut out here. But again, if you threw a tree here and then bushes along here, that would be all outside of that visual triangle.
Okay.
So maybe a motion to incorporate language that strengthens the whole vision triangle point, because I think it's really important. I mean, while the code addresses it, and we occasionally or whatever enforce it, especially when there's a report on an existing building, but I think it's important maybe to reflect the action to get that in the motion.
Sure.
Yeah. And that probably would,
Sure.
bank's interests are
Makes
preserved
sense.
there too. Okay. And commissioners, any?
Your comments aren't regarding to our sign, are they?
No.
I don't think I know it's on the corner of Wood and 8th Street?
No,
Anyway, that's all of it. Commissioners, any other comments?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Kubitschek with the incorporation of language around the to-be-added landscaping outside of the vision triangles. Correct. Or at least no vision triangle conflict. Second by Tao. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? You don't want any sign changes at all? All in favor, signify by saying aye. I know you did. After it blew over or something, was it? Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you. Just had to ask.
I just, if it's okay, I'd like to just read portion 2, just to see if if this seems like the landscape plan prepared by In-State Landscape Design dated 9/14/2018 shall be revised to include a minimum of 69 landscape points to the landscape island adjacent to 8th Street South while maintaining adequate vision sight distance.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. All right, 6 is adjournment. So moved. Motion by Kubaschak, second by Tao, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Stand adjourned. We'll see you in 2 weeks, 4 PM